Hello and welcome to my ICA2 screencast. I'm just going to do a quick overview of the section. This is my scene that I went with. I have the elevating road um, and it's U-turned as well. Um, I have the fence that you can see through using the normal occlusion settings here. So the smallest hole 0.25. I also included an underground little section just, I know you can't really see between that, that's the there, look, and then I have my chair. So I'm gonna just quickly play this as I start going through I'm just gonna do a quick run through of this. So the camera, I went with the 70mm just because I kind of like the wider shot that you get as you're going up the road. As you can see here, I have the I have this occlusion portal here. So when you go in, you can only see within this section and nothing else. I only chose this area because I don't really have anywhere else that is interior compared to that. And then here I have my light probes set up for these trees. And finally, as you come up here, you reach the car that I have tried to set up the triplanar reflections with. Didn't turn out perfect, but you can tell they kind of move with the screen, but they do also sort of look like raindrops. Right, so I'm just going to end that, and I'm going to start now by talking about my light groups that I set up. Since this scene is only 50 by 50, I split the cascades of that. Majority of what you see is within this area. Like, it's see majority of the close up, the first cascade, and then you'll see then the later the ones, the green, and then it'll go to yellow. The only ones in the last cascade will be the distant buildings. Um, so yeah, they're the only ones that will be there. For my directional lighting, I went with a kind of blue filter to simulate the moon. You can't really see it like reflection off of these metal roofs, and I kept the temperature just kind of white because I didn't like with the blue filter. It doesn't need out anything else. The Kelvin, it's a bit intense, but also because of the volumetrics, I think it kind of works well. I've also included particles and everything. Um, so I'll go over to my light probes. I set it up just kind of where the lighting will change the most. So you kind of have this section having majority, then this having a little bit, and then again, majority of light probes are set up there. There is also, so yeah, that was kind of that. For light mapping, I'm just gonna go over the light map settings, everything that I have. So the settings I kind of chose, I wanted to keep everything minimal, but I didn't. I also kind of wanted the render to not be so short that I kind of like, it wasn't the best. So um, what I went for was this split of different these values. These are the values I went for. The light map resolution, I was having issues with UV overlapping, and from what I gathered online, there was only kind of, I had to change the mesh importer settings, which I tried to do in Unity. Didn't really avail too much. So I just kind of boost the light map resolution because I've seen people saying that's also a way to solve it. Light map size and sampling, the size I just kind of kept at 1024, just simple size. I don't want it too big. But for sampling, the scale of objects kind of differs throughout the scene. So all of my roof objects, they all have 0.15, and then some walls where there's not too much difference in lighting, they're 0.25. More complex shapes they'll have for full scales just because the complexity of them with the UV overlapping just kind of solved it, having the scale set high. Um, so yeah, so my static object render settings, I really just kind of took everything in architecture and I just set them all to do everything, um, just because I wasn't too sure where I was still going to have everything set up when I was developing it. So I just had everything in architecture set to be static, and they are buildings and just the roads. There's nothing dynamic about them. The props are the only things that are really dynamic. Um, well, only some props, the trees. The So then onto my camera settings that I chose. Um, I went with the 70 millimeter type just because I like that wider frame. The focal length as well, wider frame. I kind of kept the shutter speed and all that. I kind of left it to what it was. Changed the focus distance to 8. Not too sure. I was messing around with aperture, but don't know what I really was doing. So it didn't seem to be making a big, massive effect. Um, so I didn't do a lookup texture as my post-processing effect. Instead, I have I created a screen, a rain screen effect, just to simulate the rain being on the screen. Um, I also created a small script just to when you go underground, the drops will stop, but you can see the drips, like the line streaks, they still go down, as you can see here. Uh, the horizon kind of I set on basically as you go up the like you'll go up the road, there'll be different elevations. I wasn't too sure what it was going to look like, but this was kind of the first screenshot that I grabbed, and as you can tell, it's only a small section. These are the first buildings that I'd started developing after the road was laid out, and then you have here where you can see the road is laid out, and I started kind of cutting off different edges to get so you couldn't see over or couldn't see the horizon. Started adding more buildings, added this big center building, um, and then you have here where all the buildings are in. Um, I added a roof into here as well, and this is just kind of getting, as you can see, I kind of started putting props in. So I started adding more props to the scene. Uh, I wasn't too sure. Found it kind of difficult to find images on what they look like what pipes and air vents look like, and the only kind of real remembrance I had was because of like GTA where they had kind of these boxes on the roofs and the air vents going into different buildings. So I kind of was like, all right, I kind of have this fair idea. And then with balconies, some people just got balconies, others didn't. It's just the city they live in. So then yeah, here is where I implemented the volumetric fog and the lighting. I knew the direction that I wanted the light come from. I had it built in place just so it would kind of cast a shadow. Um, and the volumetric fog, this was kind of the first implementation that it goes forever. There's no limits on it. But this is with the screen space effect as well. Um, Here's another different image just showcasing that. But yeah, on my final iteration, I lowered the light just because I felt like the darkness kind of worked with it. Um, and yeah, that was kind of. I know I have 5 screenshots, but this is basically my sixth one, the final one. I didn't notice it was a requirement. So yeah, thank you for listening and watching my screencast. Bye.